Your check engine light comes on. So you take your car to the mechanic, they plug in the diagnostic tool, and they determine that you have what? A code. A code that tells you that your catalyst system is below threshold. But what does it mean? It could be a catalytic converter, it could be an oxygen sensor, it could be an exhaust leak, it could be bad gas. The code doesn't tell you anything. The code tells you that something's wrong in the 47 parts of a system. That's not a diagnosis. That's a starting point. Someone still has to do the interpretation. Hi, I'm Mike Brewer, and this is The Intelligence Fabric, a podcast about how intelligence really shows up in multifamily. Your dashboards work the exact same way. Got more data than you've ever had before. You have more codes, more lights, and more signals firing all at once. And most operators are staring at the panel and calling it a strategy. Let's think about your last week. How many reports crossed your desk? Or how many dashboards were open on your screen? How many numbers did someone put in a slide and present with complete confidence? Now think about how many of those numbers actually changed the conversation, or a decision rather. Not the conversation around the decision itself. If you're honest, that ratio is probably pretty embarrassing. Here's the truth that nobody says clearly enough. Data without context, it's just noise. It's polished noise. It's expensive noise, enterprise-grade noise with a login screen and a clear-coded legend. You know, those red, yellow, and green lights on your dashboard. But it's all noise. We can measure almost anything now: occupancy, conversion, lead volume, response time, lease trade-outs, delinquency, tour to lease, cost per lead, cost per move-in, dare I go on. And yet, we are making bad decisions every single day because numbers don't explain reality. They only hint at it. Let's face it, a property can have a high traffic week and very weak leasing results. A report will tell you that, but context tells you whether the traffic was junk, whether the follow-up is broken, whether pricing is out of step with the submarket, whether the team is overwhelmed, or whether half of those leads were never serious to begin with. Without context, you're staring at a symptom and calling it a diagnosis. That's spreadsheet cosplay pretending to be leadership. This is where organizations get into real trouble. They confuse access to information with understanding. They think because the data is visible, the truth is obvious. But it really isn't. The more data you have, the easier it is to find a metric that defends whatever you want it to do. Context asks harder questions. Compared to what? Over what time period? Is this a trend or is it a blip? Here's what happens when you optimize for the number instead of the meaning. You reduce response times and you still lose resident trust. You push occupancy and you destroy renewal health. You improve efficiency and accidentally make the resident experience feel cold and transactional. The numbers look better, the business gets worse. That happens all the time. If you're honest with yourself, you know that. And nobody flags it because the dashboard is green. The winners in the next era of multifamily are not going to be the operators with the most data. They're going to be the operators that can connect data to cause to consequence, and consequence to action. When information becomes abundant, interpretation becomes very scarce. There's just too much of it. Scarcity is where the value lives. Now, back to that check engine light. The code fires, the light comes on, the data is real. It's right there on the screen. The mechanic still has to get under the hood. Still has to look at the whole system. And what's upstream, it's changed. Let's roll out the easy answers before we can name the real one. The dashboard, it's the code reader. It tells you something's wrong somewhere. Interpretation and the diagnosis, that's the part that belongs to you and your team. Don't outsource it to a number. Here's a call to action for you this week. Pull up one metric your team is tracking and ask one question about it that the report can't answer. That question is where the real work starts. That's it for the Intelligence Fabric today. If something here resonates with you, pay attention, and I'll see you in the next episode where we'll pull another thread in multifamily. Thank you for watching.